Page 479, Chapter 27. Save yourselves from your outrages, human beings of Earth, and use the time that is given to you for your current life so that you may learn the truth and follow the laws and recommendations of the creation. You are looking for the truth of the creation, but you give yourselves up to a belief in Godheads and tin gods, as well as in human beings whom you glorify. Be aware of any belief which you assume to be the truth in your intellectual conceit, because each belief drives you into the arms of the truth-unknowing darkness, which triumphantly hooks its claws into your consciousness and confuses you to such an extent that your thoughts and feelings vegetate away in continuous religious, ideological, or philosophical erroneous assumption. Wake up and look into the light of the truth, so that you may tremble enormously in your intellect and in your rationality, which through your belief have fallen into narrowness, through which you cannot recognize the truth of the creation and its laws and recommendations. Your narrowness of intellect and rationality does not concern itself with the effective truth of the creation, but rather, on the one hand, with your belief forms of the religious, ideological, and philosophical erroneous assumption, and on the other hand, with the entire earthly passingness of those things which you regard as material values. Truly, you swarm around the material things of your existence as if they were a golden jewel in order to take delight in them. But you are also like an insect, because you swarm around your material things like moths swarm around the light of the fire. And just as moths precipitate unwontedly into the fire and burn, so it is with you, with your consciousness, the thoughts, feelings, and the psyche, which are harmed through exposure to Ausartungen and remain far from all truthly truth. You consciously shatter the truth in yourselves in disappointment and rage due to your arduous life through your belief in religions, sects, ideologies, and philosophies, because you disregard the teaching of the truth, the teaching of the Spirit, the teaching of the life, which is given to you through the quote, Goblet of the Truth, through the quote, teaching of the prophets, and through which you can find the rise up to the light of the creational truth, if you refrain from your belief conceit in a Godhead, tin God, or human beings whom you raise up into idols, masters, sublime ones, and God equivalents. And it is through your belief in Godheads and tin gods, invented through people of your kind, and in human beings, whom you raise up into idols and God equivalents, that you shatter the true love and create a delusive apparent love in you, which you rapidly change into hatred and jealousy, as well as into wrong fairness, and which you use in order to go forth in your pathological craving for revenge and pathological craving for retaliation, in order to torture, to kill, and to wage war against all those whom you look at and consider as enemies. And in doing so, you have the audacity to lie that the love and fairness of your fabulated Godhead, or your tin God, demand punishment, revenge, punitive retribution, and war to be meted out upon your enemies. Your shattering of the truth, the love, and the fairness is the living symbol of your far from the truth, Ausartung, by which the bulk of your humankind is befallen. You bulk of the human beings of Earth, you do not care about the cognizance and knowledge of the effective truth, because in your far from the truth, unconsiderate doing of your hubris, you reject everything that complies with the truth and the creationally true life, in order to beseech, beg, and pray to self-appointed gods in doggish submissiveness, as well as dancing around tin gods that you have formed yourselves, thus bringing fulfillment to your own wrong and unfair wishes. Again and again, however, you run into your own repercussion and create retribution for yourselves through war and hatred, because you recklessly repudiate the love and the truth, and act in every respect against the creational laws and recommendations, because truthfully you are embittered through your misguided belief and the false teachings of the untruth of your fabulated godheads and tin gods, as well as those human beings whom you raise up as idols and God equivalents. You believe the lies of their irrational teachings, which speak of godly love and fairness, but which, in the same breath, demand revenge and retribution and war against all your enemies, so that you punish, torture, and murder them, and thus the question arises whether therein is still true love and fairness. In your malicious and ausgeartet doing of your ongoing outrage with regard to hatred, jealousy, strife, murder and manslaughter, war, terror, crime, as well as lying, cheating, calumny, hypocrisy, and theft in all conceivable forms, you only create complaints, affliction, misery, sorrow, and destruction all around, without you finding time for reflection, or listening to a request for grace and true help. And if you do provide help and grant grace, then you do not do it in true love, modesty, and kind-heartedness, but only for your own sakes, so that you may assuage your guilty consciences. And truly there are very many amongst you who act in this wise, without having any true thoughts and feelings, but rather only those of the selfishness and ausartung. Truly, many amongst you human beings of earth, who let yourselves be incited through your desires, you find no time to turn to the true love and the creational truth, and all the beauties of the creation which it has given to you through the nature and the life. Truly you prefer to break the skull of your next one in hatred, jealousy, in strife, and in pathological craving for revenge, provide murderous assisted dying, and wage bloody wars, because the evil gives you joy and satisfies your murderous lust feelings. You who are the abominable, fallible ones amongst you human beings of earth, in your primitive overbearingness, you think yourselves to be wise, naming yourselves God-fearing, kind, loving, fair, responsible, conscientious, and righteous. But truthfully, none of this corresponds to one minute iota of the truth, because you are entirely obsessed by the opposite, and you lead your existence in ausartung and licentiousness, and that you disclose your vast dumbness with your false assertions shows that you neither know nor understand the truthly truth, because you do not want to accept it, through which you are not capable of creating true love in yourselves either. You who are the fallible ones amongst you human beings of earth, you are the evil ones and the bad ones amongst you human beings of earth, because you are the ones who wage wars and wreak tremendous destruction, who convey human beings murderously into the death through assisted dying, who murder innocent ones through terror acts, who harbor hatred, make jealousy and strife into part of your everyday lives, commit lying and cheating and all kinds of crime, theft, and other terrible things. You have become troublesome vermin on earth, which knows nothing else than obstinacy, malevolence, pathological craving, and licentiousness, as well as characterlessness and virtuelessness in the most terrible ausartung. Truly, you fallible ones amongst you beings of earth, you are the complete ignominy of the humankind, and you disregard the norms of the humankind and of the life, through which you also drag those who are innocent in the things of the fallibility into the dirt and bring them into disrepute, just as you, in your heinousness, have fallen prey to the ostracism, the unhonor, the ignominy, and indecency. You vilify the light of the truth, because your characteral and human depravity, you persistently dig in the gloom of the evil, looking for spitefulness, guile, envy, anger, and rage against your next ones and against all righteous ones, fair ones, conscientious ones, and responsible ones, because they do rightfully, and they rebuke you according to right and law. You, as fallible ones amongst you human beings of earth, you have long since lost the sight that would allow you to freely search for the truth of all truth in the laws and recommendations of the creation, in order to direct yourselves upwards thereon, because you have become too cowardly to search for, to recognize, and to bear the light of the truth. You fallible ones amongst you human beings of earth, who ridicule the conscientious ones, upright ones, and righteous ones, the responsible ones and fair ones amongst you, you mark yourselves through your doing and behavior, which also makes you tumble backwards blindly, as soon as the light of the truth shines out anywhere. Then you sink without hope of rescue into the opening of a dark abyss, as a result of which you are totally unable to find the way of the truth in yourselves, the way that is itself the truth and the culmination point. And because you go into the unreal in this wise, you make yourselves into depraved ones, who are sucked up by the abyss of the evil when you precipitate into it. You are seized in an unescapable clutch of the evil, out of which you cannot free yourselves without the help of the truth. And help can only be offered to you through the teaching of the truth, the teaching of the Spirit, the teaching of the life, which is brought to you through the true proclaimers of the truth as the, quote, teaching of the prophets, as, quote, Goblet of the Truth, through the explanations included therein of what you shall do and what you shall refrain from doing, and what you must go about and master in yourselves alone, through your own power and your own will. Make an effort to strive for the light in the teaching of the truth, and to find the way to the cognition in you. You must liberate yourselves from your overbearingness, and from your desire to hunt for cheap fripperies of the evil, instead of the real truth, which is equivalent to dear gold. Do not continue to sink into the ruin-bringing horror which you have given yourselves in your hard-necked greed for unfairness and evil, for unrighteousness, consciencelessness, irresponsibility, as well as for war and destruction, murder, and everything that is terrible. But truly, you are little human beings who zealously strive, in your ridiculous pattern knowledge, the pseudo-knowledge of the school knowledge, the religions, sects, ideologies, the politology, and the sciences, as well as the philosophies, and push everything far into the foreground, and therewith boast yourselves, and want to shine. But what is all that, compared to the effective truth of all truth, as is given through the creation and its laws and recommendations, through which everything existent has come about? And you cannot obfuscate all of this, in spite of your lies and malicious remarks, in spite of your calumnies and negation of the truth, because as little human beings you are too tiny to disrupt the machinery and the uncontrovertible existence of the creation, as well as its truth and laws and recommendations.